Okay, so meet Rasha. She is a junior high school student in Jakarta who's uninspired, shy, and afraid to try new things. The field of technology is foreign and scary to her because it is stereotypically a male-dominated field, and she had never been exposed to it before. There are many young women like Rasha in Indonesia. Now meet Ibu Eka. She's an IT teacher in Pamekasan, Madura. She was greatly impacted by COVID-19 because she didn't have the digital skills to help her adapt from offline to online teaching. There are thousands of teachers experiencing the same problem as Ibu Eka throughout Indonesia, and this problem is amplified with the ongoing pandemic. In today's digital economy, people like Rasha and Ibu Eka are overlooked. With the largest number of unicorn tech companies in Southeast Asia, Indonesia's tech scene is rapidly growing, and we are predicted to be one of the top economies in Asia by 2045. Unfortunately, we will not have enough digital talent by 2030 if we continue producing digital talents at this pace. In order for us to fulfill this, we will need to include these overlooked groups. And this is exactly what we are doing through Yayasan Generasi Maju Berkarya's two programs, Generation Girl and Pengajar Belajar. Hi everyone, my name is Tania, and I'm the Chief Product Officer of Yayasan Generasi Maju Berkarya, or in short, YGMB.
And I'm Nadine, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of YGMB. So Tanya and I have had the pleasure of both having backgrounds in STEM fields and also working at large unicorn companies in Indonesia. She actually, fun fact, worked at Traveloka, and I worked at Gojek, actually. So we created YGMB based on our own personal experiences and seeing firsthand how learning about technology can be a vehicle for change and empower those who are actually overlooked. So about 3 years ago, I was working as an engineer in Jakarta. I was still really early on in my career, and I was feeling a bit lost. I looked up to some of these, famous women that you can see on the slide here, and many more. But I was looking for someone within my own circle that could help mentor and guide me throughout my career growth. And it was really difficult for me to find someone. And I was wondering whether this was a problem that only I faced, or whether there were other young women out there who resonated with this problem too. So I wanted to make sure that this would no longer be an issue for future generations. So I gathered a couple friends together, and we wanted to start a project to really understand the core of the problem and potentially create a small project to solve it. So our first hypothesis was that young women weren't being exposed to these more male-dominated fields like engineering, math, sciences, and we decided to create a holiday program for middle school and high school girls that focused on teaching them these technical skills and introducing these topics to them. But after running that program in December of 2018, our very first one, we actually learned that we were very wrong. And that actually led us to go and do some research and talk to the beneficiaries themselves about what they actually needed. And we found that what they actually wanted was community and a support system, or a safe space. So during that first program, we already had some female role models coming in to speak to the girls, and we didn't realize the impact of it and how it would drive us forward. So the network and inspiration from these young women who, actually weren't that much older than the young women who are in the program themselves, was so powerful that it shifted the focus of our programs from focusing mostly on technical skills to being more about the foundational skills and building community and support system for these girls to feel confident enough to become whatever they want to be. So just to note, the foundational skills that we focus on in Generation Girl and in YGMB, problem solving, critical thinking, building confidence, communication, and empathy. So our simple solution to solve this very, very complicated societal problem of encouraging more young women to become future leaders is now by focusing on the power of community and those foundational skills. And from speaking to our beneficiaries and not getting stuck on our very first idea of having to focus on technical skills, we were able to create a solution that put the beneficiaries and the problem first.
So ever since 2018, our mission has actually grown bigger with the success of Generation Girl. And we wanted to go into the more education space. And when we first started shifting this mindset to go to this formal space, we thought that one of the best solutions is to create our own school, our own vocational school. But then thinking again, this would actually take years to finalize, not forgetting the huge cost that it will require from us. So we realized that we need to approach it in a more sustainable manner. We reflected back and asked ourselves, what problems do we actually want to solve? And what is actually the simplest solution to this problem? And that's when we actually realized that in order to reach more beneficiaries, we will need to make changes in the education system. And the education systems, the core lies in teacher, because they are the foundation of a great education. By doing a lot of FGDs and interviews with our users, we started to understand that teachers in Indonesia face similar problems. The first one being the curriculum provided by the government is not really updated with industry competency. Second, there is so many resources out there that they're not so sure which you want to utilize for the classroom. So this is how we actually built Pengajar Belajar as a way for us to streamline industry relevant curriculum and skills to teachers so that they can directly implement it to their classroom. We're actually also building a platform right now called Kelas. And when building this platform, we don't want to be just another education platform because there's already so many out there. And this can backfire and cause even more problems to our teachers. So what we do is we focus on being very industry relevant and making sure that our platform Kelas is very user-friendly and unplugged so that teachers all around Indonesia, wherever they may be, will be able to access it. So since 2018, our journey hasn't always been smooth sailing. I think this is also amplified by COVID-19 as we all are facing. And it's a journey filled with so many trials and errors, but we're firm believers of using failures as a way of learning. Because like Nadine said before, we come from STEM backgrounds, and this has actually pushed us to think creatively and to be agile in our ways of working. Even though we're a pretty young organization, we're only 3 years young, our many attempts at trials and errors have shaped us to be more data-driven in making new programs and to always put our users and their problems at the center of every decision we make. As an organization, we strive to always be impact first, impact-driven, and we do so by implementing the design thinking framework in a lot of our processes. What you see on the screen right now is actually the design thinking framework, which we use at the core of our organization. We love this framework because the very first step is to understand the problems and the users. And through the many steps and iterations, we can continue to improve our programs for our end beneficiaries and our users. We're still far from perfect, but through the many focus group discussions, our market research, and impact assessment, we believe that we are heading towards the right direction.
So we spoke a little bit about Rasha, one of our members in our Generation Girl community. So because of our work at Generation Girl, Rasha now has the exposure and the confidence to explore some new fields of learning. However, not only did she gain those foundational skills that I talked a little bit about, she now also has a community that she knows she will always have her back and will always support her. So by understanding our beneficiaries' needs and adjusting our programs accordingly, we found that community and access to role models are actually the main driver to encourage more young women to go into these male-dominated fields and not actually the introduction to technical skills that we previously hypothesized before. And we're super, super happy because since Generation Grow was formed, we've reached about 2,000 beneficiaries through our main programs. Over 15,000 people have joined our one-time events and workshops, and about 25,000 people through our bite-sized content on our online community. Yeah.
Now going back to Ibu Eka. Ibu Eka has the digital skills needed to create an interactive classroom experience for her students after joining Pengajar Belajar. She's even gone one step further and taught some of her fellow teachers in her community what she learned with us. Because of building the community of teachers like Ibu Eka, we actually get to understand their needs and their problems. And we can actually involve them in the brainstorming process and brainstorm with them the solutions that are most beneficial for them. Starting with a simple solution of building a teacher's community, we can now scale our impact by building a platform that they actually need and will use. So Pengajar Belajar has also had incredible impact in its one-year history. We launched Pengajar Belajar in COVID, March 2020, and up until now, we've actually reached over 2,000 teachers like Ibu Eka in 44 regions throughout Indonesia. And through our platform, Kelas, we're aiming to reach 10,000 more teachers throughout Indonesia to scale our impact.
So just a few things to remember from looking back on our journey these past 3 years. We really try to keep, Tania and I try to keep these 3 values top of mind in our organization. So the first one is we always try to understand the core of the problem before finding a solution. So our initiatives always come from us looking at the world around us, seeing a potential problem, doing our research, and actually understanding the why of the problem first, and what factors make it a problem. Number 2, after we understand the why and the core of the problem, then we ask ourselves, what's the simplest way that we can fix this problem? So by talking to our beneficiaries, involving them in the solution building process, like what we do with Pengajar Belajar and our teacher community, we've been able to find more impactful solutions, which were actually may not be what we expected them to be. So some advice from us to you might be, don't get too bogged down on a specific solution. Instead, maybe focus on the problem at hand first. And number 3, we like to start small and validate our solutions before scaling and going bigger. Because for us, we're totally fine failing, and we think that you should be totally fine failing too, as long as you learn from those failures and adjust accordingly. So we really, really recommend learning about the design thinking framework a little bit more for more information.